Good evening, everyone. Good evening. So I'm very thankful to all of you who are here, who made it to our meeting this evening of the York NAACP. Please also be reminded that our meetings are every fourth Tuesday at 6:30 at Crispus Attucks here at 605 South Duke Street. So hopefully we'll also see you in May. We, as you see, are videotaping. The plan for today, because these candidates were so gracious to respond to our last-minute requests, the plan for today is that they each would give about a 5-minute presentation. And I did ask them to consider the issues that are important to us as an organization. So if you have a pressing question, because we weren't really going to go back question and answer, but if you do have a pressing question at the end of, say for instance, the 10th Congressional District candidates, then raise your hand so we'll know. But otherwise, what we were thinking is this was a meet and greet. There's some snacks over to my right. Please help yourself too. But after they give their stump speeches, that you can have some personal interaction with these candidates. Because sometimes what they say at the podium doesn't always show who they are as a person. And one of the things that I absolutely know is you're putting people in those positions and you need to know who they are. And know whether or not they have your interests at heart, whether or not they will be serving you or some other interests. So we want you to vote. And we want you to be informed voters, because we understand that the more you know, the more willing you are to go out to vote and speak to others about voting.
Thank you very much, and thank you all for being here. Since I get to go first, I get to speak for all the other candidates on a topic, and that topic is participation in events like this. I've been telling people up and down the district that political participation and voting are not just civic duties any longer, they are survival skills, and I think all of us have been encouraged by the huge numbers that we're seeing every event we go to. We had an event in Harrisburg that was attended by over 400 people or so, absolutely fantastic. So my name is Alan Howe. I'm a Democratic candidate for the 10th Congressional District. I live in Carlisle. I grew up in Afton, New York, which is about 4 hours north of here on the banks of the Susquehanna River. Afton is a very small rural town. There are very few economic opportunities. So I ended up saying yes to an Air Force recruiter who came by shortly after I graduated. I did 24 years and 24 days in an Air Force uniform, including 2 decades overseas in Asia, Europe, and in the Middle East. In December of 2005, less than a year after I retired, my wife and I ambushed Congressman John Lewis. He's fine, don't worry. We knew where he was going to be speaking. We laid in wait for him. We, as I said, ambushed him and an aide. And the congressman was kind enough to sign my copy of his memoir, Walking with the Wind. And while he was doing that, I was able to ask him one question, which was, were you able, do you think, to do more good as a private citizen? Of course, he's a hero of the civil rights movement. Or as a member of Congress? And the congressman struggled with that question for a bit. So I left that interaction with the idea that I would see what good I could do in my private life and to improve myself as well. I'm a serial instigator and an eternal optimist, so that fit me fairly well. My wife and I discovered, we were living in Panama City, Florida at the time, we discovered that our neighbors didn't have an opportunity to go to places like Montgomery, Alabama, one of the places where John Lewis was beaten. And so we organized and put on free bus tours from Panama City up to Montgomery to tour civil rights movement historical sites. We found that the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Service was discriminating against military families. And so we took on and defeated the Department of Homeland Security, changing U.S. immigration law and ending that discrimination. When we moved to Carlisle, I learned that friends of mine were on the Carlisle Borough Council. We're going to promote a human relations ordinance and create a human relations commission underneath that ordinance. I was writing a column for the Sentinel at that time, so I made that ordinance a topic of my column. and then I attended the first of the public meetings related to that ordinance. This was to include LGBTQ protections that are not covered under state law. So at the first session, there were 13 people, 12 white men and 1 white woman, all straight. And they got up one at a time and told the commission that the white men especially, that they had experienced no discrimination in Carlisle. In fact, they found it to be a very welcoming space. I waited until last and told the Borough Council that as a relatively new member of Carlisle Borough, that I too, as a white male, had experienced a very welcoming environment and no discrimination whatsoever. But I couldn't claim the same for my Japanese wife or for any of my neighbors. So we pushed that through. In December of 2016, we got that ordinance passed. It creates a commission, as I said, so that any victims of discrimination in Carlisle, whether they're members of the LGBTQ community, whether they're members of the Hispanic community, whether they're members of the African American community, have a recourse when, for example, owners of a golf course say they don't want brown people on their golf course. So there are things that we can do to fight back against this discrimination. And let me tell you what I intend to do in Congress about that. I'm going to stand side by side with John Lewis in Congress. We're going to fight for racial justice, economic justice, and environmental justice. We're going to make sure that domestic hate groups are treated like terrorist groups. When we tell Al-Qaeda and ISIS that they can't form a branch here in the United States and then provide First Amendment protections for the KKK and neo-Nazis, we are instituting racism. We cannot have a private prison system that provides a profit motive for a justice system that has been burdened with racism from its absolute beginning. And we cannot have police and friendly prosecutors supervising the conduct of police departments, whether they are shooting unarmed black men or chasing women out of a restaurant, tearing their tops off, chasing men out of Starbucks, or chasing women off of a golf course. Okay? We can do better. We will do better. We start May 15th with your vote. Thank you all.